The black Mercedes moved slowly through the crowded downtown streets. Inside sat Marcus Chun, one of the wealthiest tech entrepreneurs in the city. His tailored suit cost more than most people earned in a month. The leather seats were cool against his back as his driver navigated through afternoon traffic. Marcus was reviewing documents on his tablet when something made him look up. Through the tinted window, he saw her, a small girl sitting on the sidewalk, her clothes torn and dirty, her hands stretched out to passers-by. She couldn't have been more than 9 years old. "Stop the car," Marcus said suddenly. His driver glanced in the rearview mirror, surprised. "Sir, stop the car. Now." As the vehicle pulled to the curb, Marcus stared at the child. His breath caught in his throat. Those eyes, that face. The girl looked exactly like his wife, the wife everyone believed had died 9 years ago. What happens next? Before we continue, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, New York, London, or anywhere else in the world. Now, let's continue this amazing story. Marcus Chin stepped out of his Mercedes, his expensive Italian shoes touching the dusty pavement. The afternoon heat hit him immediately, but he barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on the little girl sitting against a building wall. She wore a faded dress that was several sizes too large, tied at the waist with a piece of rope. Her face was streaked with dirt, and her feet were bare. But it was her face that held Marcus frozen. The delicate features, the shape of her eyes, the small nose. She was the mirror image of Elena, his wife. The girl looked up as his shadow fell across her. Her big brown eyes were cautious, but not afraid. She held out her small hand automatically, a gesture she had performed countless times. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He took out several bills, far more than she had probably ever received, and placed them gently in her palm. The girl's eyes widened in disbelief. "What's your name?" Marcus asked softly, kneeling down to her level despite his expensive suit. The girl hesitated, clutching the money tightly. "Lily," she whispered. "Lily," Marcus repeated. "That's a beautiful name. Where do you live, Lily? Where is your mother?" At the mention of her mother, tears filled Lily's eyes. She pointed down the street with a trembling finger toward the older part of the city where abandoned buildings clustered together. "Is your mother there?" Marcus pressed gently. Lily nodded, a single tear rolling down her cheek, leaving a clean track through the dust on her face. Marcus's heart pounded. He had to know. He had to understand how this child could look so much like Elena. "Can you take me to her?" The girl studied him for a long moment, as if trying to decide whether to trust this wealthy stranger. Finally, she nodded and stood up, her small hand still clutching the money he had given her. Marcus followed Lily through narrow alleyways he never knew existed in his own city. His driver trailed behind in the Mercedes, moving slowly through the tight spaces. The neighborhood grew poorer with each turn. Broken windows, crumbling walls, and the sharp smell of poverty. Lily walked barefoot over the rough ground without complaint, clearly used to it. Marcus felt a surge of anger and sadness. No child should live like this. No child should have feet tough enough to walk on broken concrete without flinching. They reached a section where proper streets ended and dirt paths began. The Mercedes could go no further. Marcus told his driver to wait and continued on foot beside Lily. The girl led him to a small structure that barely qualified as a house. It was constructed from mismatched wooden boards and rusted metal sheets. The roof had visible holes, and the single door hung crooked on broken hinges. "This is where you live?" Marcus asked, his voice tight with emotion. Lily nodded and pushed the door open. The hinges squeaked loudly. She stepped inside, and Marcus followed, having to duck his head to enter. The interior was dark and smelled of dampness and sickness. As his eyes adjusted, Marcus saw there was no furniture, just some rags piled in corners and a few plastic containers. In the far corner, he saw a figure lying motionless on a thin mat. "Mama," Lily called softly, rushing to the woman's side. "Mama, I brought money. Please wake up." Marcus moved closer, his heart hammering against his ribs. The woman didn't respond. He knelt beside her, and in the dim light filtering through the holes in the roof, he saw her face clearly. Time stopped. It was Elena. His Elena. The wife he had mourned for 9 years. The woman he had buried, or thought he had buried. She was thinner than he remembered, her cheeks hollow, her skin pale and covered with a sheen of sweat. But it was unmistakably her. Elena, he whispered, his voice breaking. Marcus didn't hesitate. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands and called for help. Within minutes, he had arranged for a private ambulance. He carefully lifted Elena in his arms, shocked at how light she was, and carried her outside where better light revealed just how sick she had become. Lily followed, crying softly, afraid of what was happening to her mother. I'm taking her to the hospital, Marcus told the frightened girl. She's very sick. She needs doctors. Come with us. The ambulance arrived quickly. Marcus had called Mercy General, the best private hospital in the city. As they loaded Elena onto the stretcher, he kept one hand on hers, as if afraid she might disappear again if he let go. Lily climbed into the ambulance beside him, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. She had never been inside an ambulance before. She had never been inside any vehicle before except old buses. During the short drive, Marcus called ahead to ensure the best doctors would be ready. Elena remained unconscious, her breathing shallow and rapid. Marcus held her hand and looked at Lily, who sat clutching her mother's other hand. How old are you, Lily? He asked gently. 9, she replied in a small voice. 9 years old. The same amount of time since Elena had vanished. Marcus's mind raced with questions, but they would have to wait. First, Elena needed to survive. At the hospital, doctors and nurses swarmed around Elena the moment they arrived. They whisked her away to an examination room, leaving Marcus and Lily in a private waiting area. A nurse brought Lily some juice and cookies, which the girl ate hungrily, as if she hadn't seen food in days. Marcus watched her eat, his heart breaking. This child was clearly his daughter. The resemblance to Elena was too strong, and the timing was too perfect. But how? How had this happened? A doctor emerged after 30 minutes. Mr. Chun, your wife is severely dehydrated and malnourished. She has pneumonia and a high fever. We're administering 4 fluids and antibiotics now. She should wake up soon, but she'll need to stay here for several days. Do whatever it takes, Marcus said. Money is no object. Elena opened her eyes 3 hours later. The hospital room was clean and white, so different from the dark shack where she had been lying for days, maybe weeks. She had lost track of time. She turned her head and saw Lily sleeping in a chair beside the bed. Then her eyes found Marcus, sitting on the other side, watching her intently. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming or perhaps dying, and this was some kind of vision. Elena, Marcus said softly. His eyes were red, as if he had been crying. Marcus! Her voice came out as a raspy whisper. Is this real? It's real, he said, moving closer and taking her hand. I found you. I found both of you. Tears spilled from Elena's eyes. How? How did you find us? I saw Lily on the street. She looked just like you. I followed her home, and there you were. His voice broke. Elena, we thought you were dead. There was a funeral. Everyone mourned you. What happened? Where have you been? Elena's tears came faster now. It was your mother, she whispered. Your mother took me away. Marcus froze. What? I was pregnant, Elena continued, her voice weak but steady. We were so happy, remember? But your mother hated me. She said I wasn't good enough for you. She wanted you to marry someone from a wealthy family. Marcus's hands began to shake. One day, she came to the house when you were at work. She said she wanted to buy things for the baby. I trusted her. I went with her. Elena paused, gathering strength. She drove me far outside the city. There were men waiting. She paid them to take me away. She threatened to kill me and the baby if I ever tried to come back. No, Marcus breathed. No, she wouldn't. She did, Elena said firmly. They drove me for hours and left me in a village far from here. I had no money, no phone, no identification. I was pregnant and alone. I tried to get help, but no one believed me. When Lily was born, I did everything I could to survive. But it was never enough. Marcus stood abruptly, rage flooding through him. His own mother had done this. His own mother had stolen his wife, his child, 9 years of his life. She had let him grieve and suffer while knowing the truth. Marcus left the hospital with one destination in mind, his mansion on the hill, where his mother had lived with him since Elena's death. All these years, she had comforted him, supported him, helped him through his grief, all while knowing she had caused it. His driver sensed his mood and drove quickly. Marcus sat in the back seat, his jaw clenched, his hands balled into fists. The anger inside him was like nothing he had ever felt before. When they arrived at the mansion, Marcus burst through the front door. His mother, Catherine Chun, was in the living room watching television, a cup of tea in her hand. She looked up with a smile when he entered. "Marcus, you're home early. How was your meeting?" "I found Elena." The teacup slipped from Catherine's hand and shattered on the marble floor. Her face went white. "I found my wife," Marcus continued, his voice low and dangerous. "The wife you told me was dead. The wife you made disappear. I know everything, Mother. Elena told me what you did." Catherine stood up, shaking her head frantically. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I didn't. Don't lie to me," Marcus roared. "Not anymore. You took her away. You paid men to dump her in some village. You threatened to kill her. She was pregnant with my child." "I did it for you," Catherine cried. "That woman was beneath you. She came from nothing. You deserved better." "Better?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "You took away my wife and daughter. You let me mourn for 9 years. You destroyed 3 lives because of your selfish pride." "I have a daughter," Marcus continued. "Her name is Lily. She's 9 years old. She's been living on the streets, begging for food because of what you did. My daughter has suffered every single day of her life, and it's your fault." Catherine sank back into her chair, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't know about the child. It doesn't matter," Marcus shouted. "What you did was unforgivable. You're not my mother anymore. I want you out of this house. Pack your things and leave. Tonight." "Marcus, please. You have 1 hour. If you're still here after that, I'm calling the police. I'll tell them everything. They'll arrest you for kidnapping." Marcus returned to the hospital to find Elena awake and talking softly with Lily. The little girl's face was clean now, and a nurse had found her some clean clothes from the pediatric ward. She looked less like a street child and more like what she truly was, his daughter. Elena looked up when he entered. "Your mother?" "Gone," Marcus said simply. "She's no longer part of our lives." Over the next few days, Elena grew stronger. The doctors were amazed at her recovery once she received proper nutrition and medicine. Marcus visited every day, bringing gifts for Lily, toys, books, and clothes. The little girl was overwhelmed by the attention and kindness. On the 4th day, the doctor said Elena could go home. Marcus had prepared everything. He had converted one of the mansion's bedrooms into a beautiful space for Lily, painted pink and purple, her favorite colors, as he had discovered. He had hired additional staff to help with Elena's recovery. He had even enrolled Lily in the best private school in the city. When they arrived at the mansion, Lily's eyes grew huge. "We're going to live here," she whispered. "This is your home," Marcus told her. "This is where you should have grown up." Elena cried as she walked through the beautiful house. For 9 years, she had struggled in poverty, never imagining she would see such comfort again. Now it felt like a dream. That evening, as Lily explored her new room with wonder, Marcus and Elena sat together on the terrace overlooking the city lights. "I can't believe this is real," Elena said. "After so many years of suffering, I thought I would die in that shack. I thought Lily would be left alone." "You're safe now," Marcus promised. "Both of you. I'll never let anyone hurt you again." "I forgive your mother," Elena said suddenly. Marcus looked at her in shock. "How can you forgive her after what she did?" "Because holding on to anger will only hurt me," Elena replied. "She took 9 years from us. I won't let her take any more. I choose to focus on our future, on our family." Marcus pulled his wife close, marveling at her strength. The weeks that followed were a time of adjustment and healing. Lily had never lived in a proper house before, never slept in a real bed, never had 3 meals a day. At first, she was afraid to touch anything, convinced she would break something or be punished. Marcus made it his mission to help her feel safe. He spent hours with her, reading books, playing games, showing her that this was truly her home. Slowly, Lily began to relax, to laugh, to be the child she should have been all along. Elena regained her health and her spirit. The haunted look in her eyes gradually faded. She began to smile more, to talk about the future instead of just surviving the present. Marcus hired a tutor for Lily, who had never attended school. The girl was bright and eager to learn, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. One evening, Marcus received a phone call from the police. His mother, Catherine, had been arrested. Someone had reported her for financial fraud, and during the investigation, other crimes had come to light. When Marcus told the police about what she had done to Elena, they added kidnapping to the charges. "They want to know if you'll testify," the officer said. Marcus looked at Elena, who was listening to the conversation. She nodded slowly. "We'll both testify," Marcus said. "She needs to face consequences for what she did." The trial was difficult. Catherine's lawyers tried to discredit Elena, claiming she had abandoned Marcus and was now trying to take advantage of his wealth. But the evidence was overwhelming. Elena's medical records from 9 years ago showed she had been pregnant. Witnesses in the village where she had been abandoned came forward. The men Catherine had paid eventually confessed. Catherine was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Marcus felt no satisfaction in his mother's conviction, only sadness for what might have been if she had simply accepted Elena from the beginning. But justice had been served, and now they could truly move forward. Lily started at her new school and thrived. She made friends quickly, her natural kindness and curiosity drawing other children to her. Her teachers were impressed by how quickly she learned, catching up to her classmates despite having no formal education before. 1 year after finding Elena and Lily, Marcus stood in front of a newly renovated building in the part of the city where he had first seen his daughter begging. He had purchased the old structure and transformed it into a shelter and community center. Elena stood beside him, healthy and strong now. Lily held both their hands, dressed in her school uniform, looking proud and happy. "I created this place because of you, Lily," Marcus said to his daughter. "No child should have to live the way you did. This shelter will provide food, housing, education, and job training to families who have nowhere else to go." The center opened to great fanfare. Local news covered the story of Marcus Chun, the tech billionaire who had discovered his missing wife and daughter and was now using his wealth to help others in similar situations. Within months, dozens of families had been helped, given shelter, medical care, and the tools to build better lives. Elena started her own initiative, focusing on women who had been victims of abuse or abandonment. She understood their pain and fear better than anyone. She hired counselors, set up support groups, and created a job training program specifically for women trying to rebuild their lives. The work gave Elena purpose and healing. Every woman she helped, she saw herself, saw what might have happened to her if Marcus hadn't looked out his car window that day. Lily, now 10 years old, volunteered at the center on weekends. She helped in the children's program, reading to younger kids and playing with them. The other children looked up to her, not knowing she had once been just like them. Marcus's business continued to thrive, but it was no longer his primary focus. He had discovered something more important than building wealth, using that wealth to change lives. He established a foundation in Elena and Lily's names, dedicated to fighting poverty and helping families in crisis. 5 years after their reunion, Marcus, Elena, and Lily had become a symbol of hope in their community. Lily, now 14, was an honor student with dreams of becoming a doctor. She wanted to help people the way the doctors had helped her mother. Elena's Women's Center had expanded to 3 locations, helping hundreds of women each year. Her story had been featured in national magazines, inspiring others to create similar programs in their cities. Marcus had transformed his business approach, ensuring his company gave back to the community through scholarships, grants, and employment programs for disadvantaged youth. One evening, they received unexpected news. Catherine, Marcus's mother, was dying. She had cancer and had only weeks to live. The prison had contacted them to ask if anyone would visit her. Marcus's first instinct was to refuse, but Elena encouraged him to go, to seek closure and peace. "Forgiveness isn't for her," Elena said. "It's for you." so you could be free of the anger and move forward completely. Marcus went to the prison hospital alone. Catherine looked nothing like the proud, strong woman he remembered. She was thin and frail, her skin gray, her eyes hollow. "Marcus," she whispered when she saw him. "You came." "I came," he said, sitting beside her bed. "I'm sorry," Catherine said, tears streaming down her face. "I was wrong about everything. I destroyed so much because of my pride. I've thought about it every day in this place. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I'm truly sorry." Marcus looked at his dying mother and felt his anger dissolve. She had already lost everything: her freedom, her family, her dignity. What more punishment could he wish for? "I forgive you," he said quietly. "Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." Catherine died 2 weeks later. Marcus attended her funeral, a small, quiet affair. He said goodbye to the woman who had given him life but had nearly destroyed it. Then he went home to his family. 10 years after finding Elena and Lily on that life-changing day, Marcus stood at a podium in front of hundreds of people. It was the anniversary celebration of the Chun Family Foundation, which had grown into one of the most effective charitable organizations in the country. Elena sat in the front row, as beautiful as ever, her eyes shining with pride. Beside her sat Lily, now 19 and in her second year of medical school, well on her way to achieving her dream of becoming a doctor. 20 years ago, I thought I had lost everything," Marcus began. "My wife had disappeared, presumed dead. I was alone, heartbroken, and empty despite all my wealth. Then one day, I looked out a car window and saw a little girl begging on the street. Something made me stop. Something made me look closer." The audience listened in rapt attention. Many had heard the story before, but it never lost its power. "That little girl was my daughter, though I didn't know it then. She led me to my wife, who had survived 9 years of unimaginable hardship. Finding them saved my life just as much as I saved theirs. They taught me what truly matters: not money, not status, not business success, but love, family, and using whatever resources you have to help others." Marcus paused, emotion thick in his voice. "In 10 years, our foundation has helped over 50,000 people, providing shelter, education, medical care, and job training. We've built 12 community centers, established 15 scholarship programs, and created opportunities for thousands of families to escape poverty." The audience applauded loudly. Marcus waited for quiet before continuing. "But the number I'm most proud of is this. Of the 50,000 people we've helped, thousands have gone on to help others. They've started businesses, created programs, volunteered in their communities, and spread kindness wherever they go. That's the real legacy. Not what we do, but what those we help go on to do." After the speech, as Marcus reunited with his family, Lily hugged him tightly. "I'm proud of you, Dad," she said. Marcus held his daughter close, remembering the small, frightened girl sitting on the sidewalk with her hand outstretched. Now she was strong, confident, and on her way to saving lives herself. That night, the three of them sat on their terrace under the stars, just as they had done countless times before. They talked about the past without pain, about the present with gratitude, and about the future with hope. "Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like if I hadn't looked out that window?" Marcus asked. Lily nodded. "Sometimes, Mom, and I probably wouldn't have survived much longer. But you did look. You did stop. And that changed everything." "It changed everything for me too," Marcus said. "Before I found you, I was successful but empty. You gave my life meaning." Elena leaned against her husband's shoulder. "We saved each other," she said simply. They sat in comfortable silence. Three people who had been torn apart by cruelty but brought back together by chance, or perhaps by fate. They had survived impossible odds, found each other against all probability, and built something beautiful from the ashes of tragedy. Their story spread far beyond their city, inspiring millions through books, interviews, and documentaries. People around the world heard about the billionaire who found his daughter begging on the street, about the wife who survived 9 years of hardship, about the little girl who never gave up hope. But for Marcus, Elena, and Lily, the most important part wasn't the fame or recognition. It was the simple joy of being together, of having family dinners, of celebrating holidays, of supporting each other through good times and bad. It was the love they shared, stronger for having nearly lost each other. It was the legacy they built, helping others find their own second chances. It was the life they created, not perfect but beautiful, not without pain, but full of purpose. And it all started with one decision on one ordinary day: to stop the car, to look closer, to care enough to act. That single moment of compassion changed 3 lives forever and touched thousands more. Thank you so much for watching this incredible story. If it touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We share powerful, inspiring stories every week. Please share this video with your friends and family so more people can experience this message of hope and love. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from: New York, London, Mumbai, or anywhere else in the world. We love connecting with our global family. God bless you, and see you in the next story.